Yeah, that's nice.
What's up, guys? It's Rev J again. I'm snacking again in the beginning of one of these videos. I feel like all these videos now, I'm starting them with a snack. Today's snack is string cheese. Anyway, snack's not the point. The point is, behind me is the Replace Everything Yukon. Still haven't named it as a project yet. Just keep calling it the Replace Everything Yukon. I might keep calling it that, but that's not the most efficient name for it. So, if you guys have a better idea, please post it in the comments below. As you can see behind me, there is some wood and a kicker box. Now, if you follow me on Instagram at Rev_J_HD, you've seen that is because I got a delivery of stuff from Kicker Audio. I got an L7. I've got this 1200.1, which is actually rated at 1309 watts. I love that they include the little birth certificate sort of dyno sheet thing. And thusly, you can expect that this wood is for a sub box. I went to high school in the early 2000s. And I also graduated high school in the early 2000s. And as part of that, I definitely remember car audio was huge back then. Now, it still exists today, but not the way it did in the late 90s and early 2000s. For those of you that are too young to remember, or your local ordinances have been passed, so it wasn't an option anymore, there used to be dB drags and SPL contests at a lot of like car audio shops, cruise-ins. It's just kind of a thing of the past a little bit, not nearly as big as it used to be. So I decided nothing would be better to put in this than a square L7 kicker sub in a homemade box in the back. I haven't made a box since, let's see, well, the center console on the Hatred Copter C10 is a box, but I haven't made a sub box in a bunch of years, so it's going to be fun to get out, rebuild one for a little bit. We're also going to have a place for the amp on it. I've got 3/4 inch MDF here. It's the Kicker 1200.1 amp. That's what we're going to be using. So when you're building a box, for those of you that have never done it before, essentially, especially with a sub, the most important thing is knowing the volume of that box. Now, I've got the manual for the L7 right here, and I might not be able to focus, but you see I have a couple numbers highlighted. That is the 1.25 cubic feet and the 2 cubic feet there in the sealed SQ side. We are going with a sealed box, mainly because I have the whole cab area open here. I don't need the extra volume from a ported box, and I want the tight punchiness that I listen to for some metal, some of the more faster BPM stuff. A vented box, ported box will of course give you more overall volume, but especially in this situation where it's just an open hatch and not a trunk, I don't think it's necessary. Plus, building a sealed box is easier. The Solo Barrack L7s do really well in sealed boxes. Those dimensions there, the 1.25 and 2 cubic feet, are going to be what we're shooting for with the dimensions of this box. Now, thankfully, Kicker even includes the panel dimensions. The 2 cubic foot box is actually the large size for the 12, but it's the regular small minimum size for the 15. So you can just use the dimensions for those, so long as you use the correct 12-inch cutout. The root of it, guys, it's just measuring volume, cutting your panels to size, and assembling it together. It is as simple as building any other wood box on any carpentry channel, building a basic drawer on any carpentry channel. It's actually probably easier than building a drawer. The main thing is we need to get all of our corners tight, we need to get all our dimensions correct, we need to brace it and account for the bracing in the internal volume. And then we can throw the woofer in it. And I'm also, in this design, going to include a place to put the amp so it can all be put in and removed as one unit, simply and efficiently. And just doing some basic measurements on our 3/4 inch. So if you look at the volume calculations in the manual, it's approximately 16.5 for the 2 cubic foot box for the sub. So what I've done is I've laid out the two 16.5 top and bottom pieces. So the top and the bottom, the sub will be firing up in this case. And I've also added on about 5 inches on either side where I'll eventually be mounting the amp, like that. So first thing to do is look at what I've got, 16.5 plus 5, that would be 21.5 on both. Now for a 21.5 inch top piece on both, I do then need to make the sides and the end cap pieces with that measurement. So I'm going to have to throw some of the stock kicker measurements out, but we are working on the base kicker calculation of 16.5 inch square there. Alright, you can hear the saw spinning down there. And I'm covered in dust and I'm falling over. Did the measurements for the other sides, the opposing sides of the box. And it came out to 21.5 inches by 15, which based on the measurements Kicker gave me and my adaptation of the 5-inch side, should be just about perfect. Basically now what I can start do is repeatedly pre-drilling holes and inserting screws, because this thing can be propped up into place. We can pick a corner to start working from, work our way over. Once we get it about half done, we can look at where any bracing would be necessary before we go ahead and seal the box up, and then we would be able to get along to the cutouts and some of the fun stuff. Right now, where I'm at is I'm fitting and squaring up these corners. The top is drilled. I can go ahead and drill, glue, and screw the side. That's kind of the last outstanding corner here. Once this is all set back together, glued, then we can start cutting the hole for the sub using the template I have in the top. You can see the shape of the box is kind of taking form here now. If you didn't have a clue where we're going, you should be able to tell where we're going from here. Alright guys, I fast forwarded a little bit here. We ran out of time on the first day I was working on it. I needed to pick up some other stuff anyway. Went out today and picked up some carpet for it, which I'll show you guys in a minute. I actually picked out 2 carpet samples to try to get something closest to, I think, the light charcoal that's in the Yukon right now. So I'll show you those in a minute. I put up some video on Instagram, and I'll insert it here. Working on the box a little bit in between, and we simply went ahead and did an opening here on the side. Now that's not into the sealed box part, that's actually into the side here where the amp rack is. It's now on its back. These 2 bars kind of put on the inside here will hold the amp, the controls will be accessible here, and the wiring will go out the back. I'm not 100% sure yet if I'm going to put a cutout for the wiring on the back because the side is open, so there should be enough room. But we'll see here. I have to kind of evaluate that as we go. And I put a little spacer for the amp rack on the side and did a hole for the terminal plate so we don't have to have just a random grommet. So if I move the amp out of the way just temporarily here, this drops into the hole we have. You see over there. Of course I wrote Rev J HD on it just because. Come on. There we go. Snaps into place. Then the amp fits onto 4 bolts, 4 screws I should say. So nothing's anchored down permanently. I gotta make sure everything's level. But a simple run there and a simple run out the back for the power wiring here, straight out the back, those terminals down. RCAs will fit through there too. Alright, the first fit doesn't always go perfect, which is not a surprise to me at all. I'm covered in dust because I've been doing a little bit more sanding on the perimeter to get it perfect. You want just enough room around the sub for it to drop in comfortably without being pinched. The cage on this thing's pretty significant, but cheaper subs you can actually pinch and kind of warp the cone. In this case, I'm not worried about that, but we have just enough room, just that, 32nd of an inch or something all the way around for it to kind of fit in snugly, especially once the carpet in there. Once the carpet's in there, it should fit even nicer. So we're going to drop it back in, make sure it fits snug, and then drill the, 8 holes? 8 perimeter holes here to bolt it into place. When that's done, the only thing left is wiring and finishing of the box. And since I actually won't be doing the wiring, believe it or not, it's just the finishing of the box. I should probably mention that right now. The head unit I'm getting is not something I'm going to bother installing. So I'm actually going to not do something myself for once, which in the case of the wiring on this Yukon I'm actually okay with. We're doing all the modules and stuff like that, and I think we're doing a remote start too, and I have no desire to go into all that, all the alarm stuff, no interest whatsoever. He's a professional, he's got a ton of years, like at least 10 years of experience, so I'm going to let him handle that. I, however, am going to finish this box and deliver him a finished product that he can install in my truck. So let's go ahead and mount this thing in here and drill those holes.
Alright guys, there's a ton left to do, but if I don't stop it here, this video is going to be like 20 some minutes long, which with the way I talk, it definitely can get there. I'm going to end up rambling, so we're going to cut it short. We did all the mechanicals, we went ahead and built the frame out of 3/4 inch MDF. So with all the mechanicals done, really what's left to do now is the trim and cleanup stuff, right? We need to do the carpeting on the box, the edge trimming, painting any touch-up edges, any of that kind of stuff we need to do, hiding staples, all that good stuff from the construction. We can come back and do that. We can then put the whole box in the Yukon. Dimensionally, we know it's gonna fit. And then we can take the whole thing, sub, amp, truck, everything, over to my guy Donnie. He's gonna do the head unit install. I won't tell you which one it is yet, but it is one of the Android auto compatible units. So we're going with the full screen and all that stuff. And hopefully he's gonna get that to interface with all my rear seat stuff, my steering wheel controls, the bows, all that good stuff. And then we'll be ready to go. Definitely at the rambling point now. I'm gonna cut it off here. So check back guys, part 2 is dropping really soon, like not the usual waiting time. We'll have that up. You can see the box installed and wired and enjoyed. Until then, guys, use the hashtag REBUILDEVERYTHING on all your rebuild projects. Houses, cars, lives, the shit I always say. Check out the social media. I have it on screen here. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching.